What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Rome J, and right now I'm here. It's a very special day. We're here to talk sports, so I had to come here with none other than my cousin.
Johnny Johnson, the sophomore quarterback from North Chicago. He's been brilliant today. They are in hand. Needs one more. Under pressure. Fires for the end zone. Touchdown. Jimmy Pride, Illinois. Illinois has not won in Ann Arbor since 1966.
My name is Johnny Johnson. I'm a quarterback, University of Illinois, from 1993 to 95. Ninth all-time passing list, fifth touchdown passing list. Um, One of the original University of Illinois cardiac kids. Greatest comeback, 20-9 with 4 minutes and 23 seconds. Um, Husband, father, former Detroit Lion, Hamilton Ticats, um, Pensacola Barracuda, and Peoria Pirate. Can't forget that. What football players did you look to growing up, if any? What black quarterbacks were like a
All
big
right,
influence for you?
that's easy. Doug Williams, um, Warren Moon, Randall Cunningham, Jeff Blake, Rodney Peete. Those were all the guys that was either playing or in that era. Um, Darian Hagan played out at Colorado in 1990. Um, so it was a lot of that. Charlie Ward, um, which was Heisman Trophy winner that does not get drafted. I still, to this day, do not understand that. And he was smooth. So
Which one of those would you compare your game to, or did you try and model your game after?
I stole a piece from everybody. Um, Charlie Ward had this sweet move. He had like a little pump fake. He'd be like 15 yards down the field. He'd pump fake the ball. The defender would jump. Like, he's already past the line of scrimmage. There's no way he could throw. So Charlie Ward, Randall Cunningham, Warren Moon. And then, a little bit of it you learn playing Sandlot.
You were All-American coming out of high school. Go through that. I want to know about that. Go through what being a high school All-American is like.
Um, at that time, I just felt like, I was being recognized for. I thought I was probably the best out there. I wanted to compete with the best. I was not afraid to step on the field with them. I had learned a lot about the game from going to camps, and I had been around the Bobby Hoyings, right? I'd seen what those guys look like up front. I was in camp with Mike Allstott in high school, so I learned a lot about uh, myself and how I could compete with others. So if they got better, I got better. That's how I felt. I could play with anybody.
How did you get the starting spot at U of I? Did you have to fight for that spot? Did somebody have to leave? How did you end up starting?
So I had a lot of different places that I was being recruited by where, I could go in right now and start playing, right? I'm going to take my lumps. I'm going to learn, but now we're looking to try to go to the NFL. I chose Illinois because I felt like I was going to take these 2 years. I knew who I was going to play behind Jason Verduzco for 2 years, and then I have a chance to compete. And I had sized up, the younger quarterbacks like J.J. O'Laughlin, who would be older than me. So rightfully, he should be the one to step in. But I figured I could get him. I knew I was going to sit for 2 years, come back after those 2 years, and be at 3 years actually, because you had a red shirt year, right? So then I would have 3 years to play and have an opportunity to make a name for myself. So that's why I went there. So my freshman year, we go through the season. We have a decent season. I'm sitting on the bench. I'm chilling. I know I'm not going to play, right? I get to dress home games. I'm cool with that. I get to practice. Um, so I'm just kind of, chilling. Makovic comes in one day, calls a team meeting. He says, in tears, my life is, I got an offer from the University of Texas, right? They're paying me more money than, to do one job and be a head coach, as I get paid to do two jobs, being a head coach and AD. This is the best for my family. I didn't understand at that time because he had promised me he was going to stay, right? And peace, I'm out. In tears. I love you guys. I wish, and then he was doing this about 2:30 in the evening. He was on it. Like, man, this dude, right? So I thought it would be okay for me because, every section of the country has, the coaching staff has a coach that covers that section. So Lou Tepper covered the Chicagoland area. So Lou Tepper was the guy who recruited me. So I felt comfortable him getting the head coaching spot. Fast forward to spring ball of the next year, he asked me a question. He says, "Hey Johnny, I always thought you'd be a great free safety." He never told me he didn't, right? If you switch to free safety today, I'll start you for 4 years. Otherwise, if you stay at quarterback, you're going to have to wait behind Jason one more year, and you're going to have to compete for the quarterback position. My question to him was, can I play both ways? He said no. I say, okay, well, coach, my dream is to be a quarterback, so I'll take my chances. And at that point in time, he said, okay. I just jogged out to practice like it wasn't nothing. And that was the demise of my opportunity. Fast forward to the next year, Jason Verduzco's gone. We get beat by Hawaii in the Holiday Bowl. We go through spring ball. I'm killing them. I'm making my mistakes. I'm not precise in what I do. But it's clear that J.J. O'Loughlin, Scott Weaver, Jeff Hecklinski, none of those guys are the right pick. I'm the right pick. Greg Landry steps on the scene, and he has a pro-style offense. He's been there for 28 years, and I'm like, this is it. Fall of 1993, I come in as the starting quarterback, the leading quarterback, not the starting quarterback. So that's a difference. I didn't know it was a difference. We go through the scrimmage, where they're going to decide. And then we have a meeting on Sunday. And Lou Tepper speaks. Landry never says anything. The whole time media has been talking about, well, it's going to be a gut feeling who we're going to start for Missouri. And Scott Weaver was named the starter. And I was named second. Hecklinski, which was a true freshman, was named third, and O'Loughlin was named fourth. O'Loughlin slammed his hand on the table, and I think he left. Then I just kind of sat there in shock for a minute, I don't even remember what he said. He gave some bogus explanation, but whatever. But he did say one thing. He said that it wasn't for certain yet, right? That it was still open. That you could still have you could still win the spot, right? So left out of there crying, walked home crying, called my dad. I want to transfer today. I want to go. My dad was like, "No, John, you're gonna have to sit still. You gotta sit still for a year, ride it out. It's a long season. You never know." I'm like, all right, Dad, I'm gonna do that. But I wanted to leave today, right? I knew I'd have to sit out a year unless I stepped down. So that would have been hard on me too. So me, that was like everything I had worked for. I couldn't control it, and I knew it wasn't fair. I knew it wasn't right. Like I knew I was better than it, right? But what can you do? It's not your team. It's not your decision. You can't make that choice, right? I put my heart into something. I believed in the system. I believed in everything you told me, right? And then today, you know, you look me in my face and you tell me something that I definitely don't believe that you even believe.
When and how did you win the spot?
Oregon game, the third game of the season. We were 0-3. I had played maybe 6 snaps against Missouri. I played a little bit more against Arizona, which was the Desert Storm. They was flying, right? Flying, wrong. Smacking. And they had busted Scott Weaver in the face about 3 or 4 times, so he had to come out the game a little bit. His hands was shaking. He was too young to come out of high school 1 year in college and then go play. So I think they ruined his career that game. And that was like one of the top defenses in the country. I played a little bit against them, but the third game against Oregon, we were going 0-3. It was just gonna happen before the Big Ten season, and they put me in the second quarter. And all I remember is just I said to myself, "Well, shit, I got nothing to lose." So,
What did you do that game?
I don't remember, Jerome. I've been hit too many times to remember, and I really didn't care. I didn't win, right? I threw my first touchdown. I hyperventilated in the celebration. Hyperventilated in the celebration, and we wound up losing that game. But that's when I knew I could play on that level. It's crazy too. I remember the first series, but I don't really remember the entire game. So the first series was a handoff, 3rd and long, and I go, well, shit, it's on me now. I drop back and I can't see nothing. Everything's a blur. Everybody's moving way too fast and I don't know what's going on. So I stepped up and all I saw was daylight. So shit, let's go. Right? And then I started getting my little, my swag. You know how I am. Mm-hmm. So I shake. Safety is coming at me. He's faster than me. I know he's faster than me. He's going to catch me. Right? I want to try to break out. I stump my foot in the ground. He falls. So I hit toward the sideline. They rush me out the sideline. And I look up and my dad is mom. I could see my dad. I always knew where they were. I could see my dad and my mom. My dad was like this. And I did him like that. And after that, the rest I don't even remember.
Definite momentum change when Johnson came in at quarterback. That's a great throw and great catch.
Johnson in the ball game, and he's got a lot more mobility.
He's a scrambler, and we broke down on this one, obviously. Changing the quarterbacks got their crowd into it. They must like this guy.
Does the coach say anything to you before you take the field? Is it just next man up? What's the attitude after that game as well? Do you know you're the starter now, or what goes on?
I know after the media take, right? Because they were putting pressure, like, what you gonna do? One person you cannot hide. There's only one position you really cannot hide. You can hide a DB. I can name a dozen DBs probably that should have played at Illinois that didn't play during that era, right? Linemen, linebackers, running backs. You can hide all of them. You cannot hide the QB position. It is too spotlighted, right? So once you put me in, you didn't have any production at this point, and you had some shine. What you gonna do, coach? Right? So I kind of knew.
That the media would do the work based off of your performance.
Here, I'll show you this. This is an article on that was done by one of the Gazette guys, right? the Champaign Gazette. His name is Lauren Tate. You can look him up. He's been there for probably over 20 years, probably longer than we've been born, right? Retired now, but he did a piece on Johnson, black QB stigma over. I believe this is 93, so this is the first year I played. But you know, some of the things he says in there about you know, my ability to run, you know, he does give me some slack on inexperience, but you know, they never really talked about it directly, but they would talk about it. I remember an article a young man wrote. One of the students wrote in the student newspaper, and he kind of outlined it as well. A comparison between me and Scott Weaver, who was my teammate. You know, he was my teammate. He was my brother. But we were both in a situation where I think that it had a lot to do with how we were viewed by the coaching staff or by the head coach or the man in charge, basically. If I could say the least on that.
It says here, Johnson doesn't avoid racial references. He speaks out in a straight-on, matter-of-fact way. Can you? Would you say that this? I mean, because I know how you are. You a straightforward type of guy. Did this rub people the wrong way, especially being like a young black quarterback?
That got me in so much trouble.
Was it with the press? Was it with coaches, teammates?
Well, probably everybody. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I'm okay with that. I think, especially with the quarterback position, you have to be the face of the program, so you kind of have to mirror the image of the head coach or the coaching staff and what they want you to portray, and I was never that. I think that was probably something that held me back a lot because I just couldn't do it.
The competition doesn't bother me. You know, I'm a competitor, and I like competition. You know, there's nothing I ever had in life that I didn't have to work for, and this is just another thing that I have to work for.
And this will probably be the first competitive situation I've been in, but I think that'll help me. I think it'll build my character, and it'll only improve myself and Johnny and JJ and probably whoever they bring in.
There's another article I will show. I showed you this before though too, probably. It's an Ebony Jet Magazine with Tony Braxton. I thought that was the Bob. Tony Braxton was on the cover of the Ebony Jet Magazine, but this was I can't remember what year this was. It's on here somewhere. 94, right? And they had the article was on the top the black quarterbacks emerge at major college universities, right? And one thing a lot of people don't know, that the press that you get back then, I don't know how it is now with the NIL money, right? But the press that you get came from your school. And I found it kind of odd that mine was the only picture. My name was mentioned, but I'm the only one that doesn't have a photo in here. But I always kept this. Yeah.
Traveling outside of Champaign, and maybe not even traveling outside of Champaign, how were you received by fans? How are you received by visiting fans or going to other cities? What would they say to you? What would people do to you? What would happen?
I think my worst experience was Penn State. Toyoka Jackson slammed me on my head. I probably got a concussion. I don't throw no picks though. Threw 2 touchdowns. We walking through I don't know how is this place is set up, but you know how the stands and the people are coming out of the stands and the rafters. So this place is packed, and we got a little walkway we walking through, and the team is going back to the locker room, and some random guy just hollers out Johnson, you're a nigger. Niggas don't play quarterback. And stunned, of course, Coach Mike Deal, white guy, long, skinny guy. He was an offensive lineman, I believe, during his playing days. He had lost a whole bunch of weight. And he yells at the guy, I won't repeat what he said, but he was the only one to defend me that day. I often call him every now and again when that goes through my mind. I think about that. I often call him just to see how he doing, just kind of check in on him, because I really appreciated that, because I couldn't defend myself, and what was I gonna do, right? But it gave me motivation to prove people like that wrong, Happened to me at home too. Kid not even older than my son. Called me a nigga, right? And my first thought was to turn. I was warming up on the sideline, playing catch. And he said something his dad probably said. He probably heard his dad say or whatever. And when he called me that, niggas don't play quarterback. My first thought was to turn and throw the ball straight through his nose, right? But that, that's just a kid, So a lot of that, man, I dealt with. I don't know how the other guys, I can't speak for Charlie Ward. I can't speak for Tommy Frazier. They had to speak for themselves, right? I can't speak for Markel. Stan Jackson was at Ohio State at the time, I believe. So I can't speak for them dudes, but that was just my experience at the time. So you had people that was conscious of it. You had people that didn't care.
Yeah, no, my dad once, to describe your arm power, my dad said little Johnny could throw a football through that wall. So throwing it at that little boy's face would have been.
Yeah, that would have hurt him. And what good would it have done? It wouldn't have taught him anything. It just would have verified what he said. And I would have been on the bench probably for 3 games or more, or suspended for the year. He was waiting on me to do something. He could suspend me and kick me off the team.
Is that how you feel? That's a fact.
That's a fact.
Why do you feel that way?
Because I always found myself being disciplined, right? A lot of times I was being disciplined and he wouldn't say what the rules or what I had broken was. And the reason why is because he had to protect himself too. Not only was he protecting me, he was protecting himself too.
When you're saying he, who are you referring to?
Lou Tepper, Coach Lou Tepper, who I think if I talk to any of my teammates, even those that won Super Bowls, if we talk for more than 15 minutes, his name will come up. So I would consider that to be like one of my one of the biggest reasons for my trauma from that era. Like I still go through those things, like what ifs, the maybes, that kind of stuff. But it's that era, because when you 18, 19, 20, you becoming a man. I wasn't the typical single father, so I wonder how those cats handled that situation. Or father died young. I got a couple of those too, right? That I play with. No father in the home ever. I had a pops, I had a mom, I had a big family, a great family, right? So I wonder how they handled that, because that's your biggest influence at that time. I can say that standing in the black quarterback shoes could be a traumatic experience for any individual, for multiple reasons. A lot of it has to do with just a mental block that people have about us as people, and until that is overcome, that's never going to change anything.
I might be jumping forward a little bit here, but I think this ties in well because you know, when we talk about like guys like Cam Newton and you know, even to a certain extent Colin Kaepernick, the word distraction comes to mind. Like, you know, Cam can be on, you know, because I think there's no way Cam Newton shouldn't be on the roster right now. I don't think there's 30 guys that's better than him. At least he couldn't be anybody's backup. But what I hear a lot is like Cam is a distraction. Do you think that black quarterbacks have to fall in line, so to speak?
Oh, definitely. That reminds me. Their name is, I believe, was a ladies' man, right? And he wore a fur coat, but that was celebrated. But for us, yeah, you need to get in line. You need to you need to be a certain way. And I imagine that's still the case in some cases, and I could be wrong. But I imagine that, you know, that's why you have the same scenario with people like Justin Fields in Chicago. When the best quarterback you've had in the last, 5 years, 7 years, you talking about trade and resetting. What are you going to reset? A losing season? Right? So,
when you look at Justin Fields, what do you see?
I think he gets a bad rap as far as like what I hear in the media. When I looked up, I think he plays 13 games this year. He's the leading rusher on the team. Got a high interception rate, but I always see him on his back or fighting or rolling off of somebody or escaping gator tackles. I think the kid is phenomenal. I don't think he has the support staff that he needs. And I think once he does separate from Chicago, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. He's going to be hard to beat. Right? If the Bears don't want to treat him right, then, but, you know, that's on them, you know. But I think, you know, if you build a team around him, I looked up his left guard, his left tackle. They got less than 5 years experience. His center, I believe, has the most experience. And don't quote me on this, you might have to double check, but I think he has 7 years experience, right? And then the other side it hasn't been there that long. So these kids, these are young men that, you know, haven't played together that long and running against a, you know, seasoned defensive line that know how to twist, and, you know, you're getting all kind of different stuff thrown at you. I see him running for his life, not able to sit down in the pocket and stay as long as he like or read the defense. But when he does let the ball go, he's got a beautiful arm. I wish I had the strike up the band speed. I wish I had that. If I would have ever had that, that would have been, oh my God. Right, the kid pulled the ball down. He's dropped back. He looked. There's nothing there. Somebody grabs him. He turns around, pulls the ball down, goes and strike up the band. Now it's touchdown, right? Who does? Not a lot of guys are doing that. So that's something that the NFL, I think, is becoming more knowledgeable of, but they just not. Everybody's not ready for it. You know, the Bears specifically want a traditional quarterback. So I'll give you an example. Justin Fields is in the game playing. Every time you hear he needs to make better decisions. He's not always accurate. His decision making. Not finding the right receiver. Are you hearing that, or am I not hearing that?
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong? Okay. Badgett comes in, makes the same play, the same way, the same style, and is celebrated. So much efficiency. He's this, he's that, right? Traditional style quarterback, right? traditional style quarterback. And a lot of that is just, I guess, the old regime and old establishment. We're going to have to wait for, younger people to come into power and take over and do what they do before that changes. Right? But yeah, he doesn't get the credit that he deserves. And if you build around him, I think he'd be a much better asset to Chicago than what they're thinking. I heard about, I don't understand reset. Okay, what are we gonna do? Reset salaries, right? So are you gonna build around the new kids you bring in? If you bring in Caleb Williams or Michael Penix, or what's the kid down at Oregon? He rough too.
Oh, I know, Bo Nixon.
Yeah, he rough.
Yeah, he's nice.
Yeah, he rough.
He's nice.
Okay, but they're not the only three. There's other kids out there on the in the SEC, which I don't know all their names, but they're rough, man. But you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna bring that in. He gonna die there too. So
it's weird. Like the Bears is just like, I don't remember hearing this much scrutiny over Mitch Trubisky, who was horrible. They just kind of let him be horrible, and then they get rid of him. And when we actually look at the facts that the Bears picked Mitch Trubisky over Deshaun Watson, they had a chance to get Patrick Mahomes, and instead you go with Mitch Trubisky with the second overall pick out of North Carolina. It just makes no sense. He played 13 games in college, and you take him with the second, third overall pick. It just makes.
I actually think Mahomes, personality-wise, would have fit the Bears. Deshaun Watson would definitely have been out of here within 3 years. Not knocking his talent, but just he's a different type of guy, mentality-wise. Justin is very quiet, it seems. Don't know what he's like personally, but he does a good job of not showing a lot of emotion and not showing he's not playing his hand. I really like that. That's very professional. Yeah, but Mr. Trubisky was tradition. It's tradition.
How would you nurture a talent like Justin Fields?
One, I let the kid play. I think my language to him would be, hey man, we're gonna take a quick 5. We're gonna look for 1 receiver. We're gonna look for 2, and then we're gonna do what Justin do. Do what Justin do. If that's run, throw the ball away, whatever you gotta do, do what you do. I need you to be you, right? And empower him to be able to play like that, and encourage the other guys to do that too as well, right? It's different playing with a scrambling or a quarterback that can move the pocket. You see how Mahomes does it. He moves around the pocket, and he throws a sidearm. He's doing all kind of different stuff. Y'all think it's magic, but these kids, they just playing like kids. Yeah. That's what we did as kids when it was 1 out, 2 out, 3 out, 4 out, 5. Right? Like, that's what they doing. And that's when you having fun. That's when you at your best. That's when you gonna win championships. That's when you're gonna do that kind of stuff. In my opinion, I could be dead wrong, but
you were taken by the Detroit Lions. You went undrafted to the Detroit Lions.
Yes.
Talk about that experience. Did you enter the draft? Did you just not get drafted? Talk about the draft experience.
Oh, I was in the draft. I had an agent and all that. I was fortunate enough to have 2 All-American, played with 3 All-American defensive players. I played with Dana Howard. I played with Simeon Rice, and I played with Kevin Hardy. Right? So Simeon Rice, Kevin Hardy went 2nd and 3rd pick of the first round in 1996. Right? So the benefit of that, having a 2nd and 3rd pick of the first round, is that every single team is at your school. Mm-hmm. You got a pro day. So I got to run for all, I think it was 28 teams at the time, maybe 32, right? And the only team that stopped was Detroit. But I knew why they stopped, because Greg Landry was there. He had left me. So I thought.
Who was Greg Landry?
Greg Landry was my mentor, quarterback coach from 93, 94 at Illinois, which is the reason why we having a conversation. Really, that what he taught me just in conversation, like me and you sitting down talking, he may be having a glass of wine, I was drinking a Coca-Cola, and he'll tell me something and it would just resonate with me, and I would take it and run with it. And the more and more he saw, the more and more he let me do. Case in point, I came to him and I asked him to let me play more in the shotgun. Shit, he put in a package that changed my game.
He's at Detroit with the Lions now.
Quarterback coach.
He's a quarterback
under
coach.
Wayne Fonts.
And what year draft is this?
1996. So the draft is going on. I got an agent. He's telling me, you know, I got chances, you know, possibly this, possibly that. I don't know about what's going on in the background. I'll find out about that later. But my phone doesn't ring. Second day, that's when they did more than 8 rounds or something like that. Did like 8 rounds. Second day, my phone's not ringing. So I get up and leave. You know, I go out, get a drink or something. I get a call from my dad. Greg Landry just called. He said he's going to call back after the draft. Come home. So I come home, and my dad said that he talked to Landry on the phone and that the Lions weren't going to draft a quarterback. But if I didn't get picked up, they were just going to bring me into camp as a third arm, as a fourth arm, right? So I would have to have a chance to win the spot. So just like he said, nothing happens. I get a phone call. It's Landry. I'm like, thank you, coach. I want to play. A couple days later, I get a FedEx package with a $5,000 check and a contract. So that was my signing bonus. I signed. A couple weeks later, I was in camp. The only thing I'm worried about is I'm not going to miss a freaking practice, right? I'm smoking weed probably way more than the average person. And I'm like, shit, I know I got to take a drug test, so I got to clean up. And I don't know what's next, right? Because I never planned for that. After speaking with my mother a couple weeks ago, we was talking about this. And she said, I've never wanted to do it for myself. I think she's right. It was never for me. And I think she's right. It was for North Chicago. It was for black men that don't play quarterback, that don't get the chance. It was for those that came before me. It was for those that was going to come behind me. It's for my family. It's for my mother, my father. I think the greatest feeling ever is just at that time, and probably still to this day, was just the look he give me when I know he proud, but he don't really say nothing. You know?
Same look I get.
Kind of shake his pocket. You know? You know what I'm talking about?
That's exactly what she's talking about.
That's gold, man.
Yeah.
So I'm a simple person, right? Like, yeah, everybody wants the comfort. But I don't know if I really wanted it like that.
It's a lot of pressure for a young man.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of things you go through. You have to be careful about how you handle yourself. I'm a lot more free now. I like to be that. You have to be careful about the people who know you or who you don't know, which is more important. One thing I wish I could do if I could go back is remember a lot of the people that I came across, because I met a lot of great people. And I could blame it on concussion. I could blame it on, meeting a lot of people and things like that. But I just wish I was better at that.
What support did the Lions provide, if any?
That's a business. That's a business. You perform, you get paid. Right? You meet a need, you get paid. Once you don't meet that need anymore, there's somebody else, somewhere out there that's coming behind you that will meet that need. Period. Point blank. Right? That's not something it's just a business.
Was it hard to grasp that, or did you understand that right away?
Right away. And I think that pro ball was easier for me than college ball. I just think I was already damaged. I was already on a different wavelength. I wasn't focused in on what I needed to be focused in on, I knew I had a picture of how I wanted my life to be and what I wanted, but I wasn't able to deal with that. I wasn't ready for that. And I had no one to call upon for that. I probably could have. I met every black quarterback that was playing at that time. Moon, Pete, Blake, right? Cunningham had just retired. And we never really talked about it, but I knew they knew, right? Like, Warren Moon knew my name. That blew my mind. Like, I'm like, hi, Mr. Moon. My name is Johnny. I know who you are. Like, dude, come on, man. You Warren Moon, right? That's how I'm looking at him, right? But so I know he knew. I know he knew what I was going through. I knew he had been through it. I didn't get a chance to speak with Blake, but he kind of gave me the hey, bro, young buck, that kind of look, which was cool. Same thing with Pete. I got to shake his hand, in between preseason. So those are different, those are different type of people. Those are special men that were able to do something that a lot of us wasn't doing at the time.
I guess I'm gonna ask, why don't you watch the NFL?
Because I have demons. It's the best way to describe it. I have times of joy. I have times of sorrow. I have times of regret. That's something that I believe all of us live with. I live in constant pain. Every day. Sometimes it's a struggle to get out of bed. Sometimes it's a struggle to get off the couch. And I feel like if I didn't make tens and millions of dollars, what was it for? Right? Would I give it back? Probably not. Right? Got a lot of education from it. Got a lot of friends from it. Got a lot of people I consider family from it. And I'll forever be in the line now. Right?
The first black quarterback that I saw in my life was number 8 of the Chicago Bears, Vince Evans. And I wear it as a badge of honor that I had a black quarterback in college. And not only did I have a black quarterback, I had a winner as a quarterback and as a leader. And that's what Johnny Johnson is, a leader and a winner.